Thursday, March 16th. This empowering gathering focuses on preventing heart disease and stroke, sharing stories of people impacted by cardiovascular disease, and raises critically needed funds to save more lives. To purchase tickets for this year's Capital Area Go Red for Women Luncheon, taking place at LaBerge on Thursday, March 16th, visit BatonRougeGoRed.heart.org. That's BatonRougeGoRed.heart.org.
Anytime. A daily look at sports from our resident historian. Your sports break during your lunch break. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. Here's Charles Hannegriff.
And a pleasant good afternoon to you. Welcome to Hanny Time 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. I'm Charles Hannegriff along with Myra Jerez and Taylor Sharp. Good to have you back with us today. Scott Rabelais here in about 15 minutes. It's also Wednesday. We do first class, second class, and no class, brought to you by Supreme Rice. A number of topics to get to here in the open, but I want to lead with Derek Carr and the Raiders granting Derek Carr permission to visit with the Saints, something that is happening as we speak. Derek Carr is in Metairie. We spent a lot of time on this topic, but it's important. I think the Saints are at a crossroads at the quarterback position, and it's a crossroads that they haven't been at where they were actually able to make a move of this magnitude in a very long time. They tried with Deshaun Watson last year. That didn't work out. They tried with Jameis Winston. That didn't work out. And so this is the latest swing. Just to kind of recap, Carr has a no-trade clause in his contract, meaning that he can veto anything to any team for any reason. He has a trigger date of next Wednesday for $40 million in guaranteed salary with the Raiders. The Raiders are simply not going to let that happen. It's $32 million, just under $33 million next year, and another $7.5 million in 2024. So the Raiders are going to cut him if they don't trade him between now and next Wednesday. That begs a question, and we've gone through, do you like Derek Carr? Do you not like Derek Carr? We did a whole thing with Chris Rosvoglu yesterday. If you want to go back and listen to that, we did statistical comparisons on the podcast. If you want to go listen to that on Monday, it's on the Hannycast, 1045ESPN.com, or wherever you get podcasts. What I want to talk about now is why would the Saints trade for Derek Carr instead of just waiting this out for the Raiders to release him next week? And there's actually there's a couple of reasons that the Saints might want to give some draft pick compensation. And you know me, I hold on to draft picks like they're gold nuggets, okay? So for me to say, hey, look, here's a good reason to trade a draft choice, I got to be convinced. The first thing is, if you trade for Derek Carr, the Saints assume his contract. Now, that means that they can restructure it, of course, and they would have to, because they're so far over the salary cap right now that they wouldn't be able to fit it in without that. But you would assume that contract with the ability to negotiate it, and you would not have to negotiate against anybody else. If Derek Carr hits the open market next Wednesday, I don't know who's going to bid on him. We went through the teams. There's plenty of them looking for quarterbacks. Carolina, Indianapolis, the entire NFC South. I mean, the number of teams looking for quarterbacks is not small. So if you were to trade let's say a third-day draft pick, a fourth rounder, a fifth rounder, a sixth rounder, a 6 and a 7, something along those lines, something that has some value to the Raiders so that they save face and they don't just let Carr walk, but not something so valuable as like, oh man, look, we're giving you a high second-round pick, and that's supposed to be pretty much a day one starter. So why you would trade for Derek Carr rather than wait for the Raiders to release him is competition. Simply, you want to box out the rest of the market. It also gives you the opportunity to restructure that contract in a way that is amenable to Carr. The Saints are not going to be able to trade for Derek Carr unless Derek Carr okays it. The Raiders have to okay it too, but I think the Raiders are willing to play ball. Other than, why else would they allow Derek Carr to go down to New Orleans? They figure we would rather get something than nothing, So if we get a 5th-round pick out of the Saints, then that's more than we're going to get if we just stand pat, tell him he can't go anywhere and visit, and next Wednesday we have to release him outright. The salary cap ramifications for the Raiders are the same, whether they cut him or whether they trade him. They take on a $5.6 million salary cap hit, but they free up $29.3 million in cap room. So one way or another, Carr's on his way out of Vegas. Why would the Saints give up a pick to do it? I just told you why. Does Derek Carr want to play in New Orleans? We'll find out after today. Is there a contract that makes sense? I said on the podcast that if the price for Derek Carr is day 2 picks and $40 million, which is what he is averaging on this current contract, $40 million a year, and you got to give him 5 years. Am I putting up $200 million, of which 60 or 70% of that is guaranteed, plus day 2 picks for Derek Carr? I am not. But if the price were, say, a 5th-round pick, let's be reasonable, okay? A 5th-round pick, maybe a 5 and a 7 over 2 years, something like that. To any combination of 1 day 2 pick in the 4th or 5th round or 2 day 2 picks over 2 years, I could probably swallow that and not gag. If the price on Derek Carr for next year is not, obviously they can't take a $40 million cap hit or even the $32.9 million cap hit. They will restructure it. They will restructure several other contracts, and they'll get this done. It would give you a going to be 32-year-old quarterback in his prime, hasn't been injured, hasn't had off-the-field problems. Now, I'm still scratching my head as to why he's available in the first place. We look at the 2 most apt statistical comparisons to Derek Carr. One younger by 3 years, one older by 3 years, and Carr's right in the middle. And those are Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins. And Kirk Cousins was much the same position with Washington that Carr is with the Raiders. We like you, but we don't love you. And they went along with this, they franchised him and they refranchised him, and hey, you like me now? And eventually they got rid of him. And by the way, been looking for a quarterback ever since. The Cowboys, went round and round with Dak Prescott for what, Taylor? 2 years on whether he was going to get contract extension or not. He finally did. He's their guy. The thoughts on Cousins and Prescott around the league are very similar to those of Carr. They are middle-of-the-pack quarterbacks. They're not elite quarterbacks. They're not bad quarterbacks. It's a big upgrade over what the Saints have now. Very interested to see what the Saints do with Derek Carr and what comes out of this situation. If nothing else, it would give you a young quarterback. This guy's not a bust. This guy can play. He's not going to go out there and fall flat on his face. Is he going to lead you to a Super Bowl? You're going to have to put some pieces around him. And I have just as many questions as everybody else does. Hey, how'd your numbers go down when Devontae Adams shows up? That was supposed to be your guy. He shows up, your numbers go down. Well, it was Josh McDaniels' fault. Much as I'd like to lay all this at Josh McDaniels' feet because I don't think he's a very good coach, I can't ignore the fact that Jarrett Stidham threw for 365 yards against the San Francisco 49ers the day after Carr left town. So there's a lot to chew on there with Derek Carr. His visit is going on today. Pelicans win last night, 116-107 over the Hawks. That's 3 in a row now for the Pels, and a big night for Brandon Ingram, who had 30 points in the game. What I liked about this was there were times in the second half when the Hawks were really putting some pressure on the Pelicans. Pelicans got out of the gate strong. There was a very close game at the half, and in the third quarter they started to pull away a little bit, and then in the fourth there were times where the Hawks were really putting some pressure on them. They had cut the lead to 6, and New Orleans comes back and they hit a couple of threes. They expand the lead from 10 to 16, and they pull away. Starting to gain a little bit of momentum, but most importantly, Brandon Ingram is starting to look like his old self over the last 3 games, and Willie Green talked about that after the game.
He sets the table for his teammates. He did a great job with the 8 assists, but then, like you said, he's doing a great job of getting to space and then attacking, getting to the paint, getting to the free throw line. He's pulling up for his mid-range shots. The one thing about Brandon this season is he's gotten stronger, so he's able to take the bumps and the hits more than he was last season. So hopefully we can just continue to keep him healthy, monitor his toe, and we continue to strive.
One of the other things that keyed the victory last night, and look, the trade deadline is tomorrow, and we've had some talks about some of the players that might be coming in. And, when we had, I think it was Shamit Dua on, might have been Ali Kosel, we're talking about what would Toronto want for a guy like OG Anunoby, and one of the names that came up with, in addition to draft choices, was Herb Jones, and I just kind of cringed because I don't want to trade Herb Jones. The reason that I don't want to trade Herb Jones is games like last night where he was on Trae Young, who is a star in the league, averages 28 points a game, and Herb spent most of the night on him. And Young, who is considerably smaller than Jones, shot 4 for 14 from the floor and 2 for 8 from three-point range. So you talk about Herb Jones, that's not a guy that I'm really looking to get out, looking to move on from. And Willie Green talked about Herb after the game.
Herb was great. He's more and more he's looking like the Herb we're all accustomed to seeing, flying around defensively, rebounding the ball, and he's just making smart plays offensively for us.
Another good night for Trey Murphy. He was 4 for 9 from three-point range. So all in all, a very good win for the Pels. One bummer. Willie Green talked before the game about the possibility of getting Zion Williamson back before the All-Star break. The All-Star game is a week from Sunday. He pretty much shot down that notion. Zion's not coming back before the All-Star break. Which is not to go back on something that we said. Mario, remember the day that Zion got hurt, and they said, what did they say? 3 weeks, right?
Yes.
And what did we say?
After the All-Star break.
Yeah, 6 weeks after after the All-Star break.
Twice.
You're just going to have to make your peace with this with Zion Williamson. This is the topic, by the way, of today's podcast, which is going to drop later this afternoon. You're just going to have to take the good. Well, you don't have to. You can think whatever you want of Zion Williamson, but there are certain players in NBA history that have performed at a high level but have been extremely injury prone, and that's just going to be Zion. That's his body type. He's never going to play 82 games. He's probably never going to play 75 games. The comparison we make in the podcast, and again, it's going to drop later today, is that of Bill Walton. Bill Walton. Well, let me ask you this. This is way before your time, Mario, but let me you're a little bit of a basketball historian. This is the historian show, right?
Yeah.
According to the promo guy. Bill Walton in the Hall of Fame had an MVP, league MVP, made a couple of All-Star teams, and won 2 rings. One when he was the MVP with Portland, another when he was the Sixth Man of the Year with the Boston Celtics. What percentage, again, and he is in the Hall of Fame. He's in the College Basketball Hall of Fame. He is in the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. How many games do you think, percentage-wise, did Bill Walton play in his career?
I would say about 60%. I know towards the end when he was with Boston, he was struggling with the injuries.
Bill Walton played 41% of the available games in his career and played over 60 games only 3 times. Portland made their peace with Bill Walton until he missed 2 complete seasons, and they had to move on from him. When he was healthy with Boston, he was a key part of the Larry Bird teams. The best one of that group was the one that Walton played. That was the one season where he played almost the whole way. There's a lot of comparisons. More on that on the podcast, but you're not going to get Zion Williamson for 80 games. You're not going to get him for 70 games. But if you get him for 50 games, he's a difference maker. He's not a bust, but he is high maintenance. Okay, so press conferences last night. Like last night, I know frustrate people. They frustrate me. Frustrate Zion. Frustrate Willie Green. Frustrate David Griffin. But that's what you are. You willing to go through these stretches without Zion Williamson? Because when you get him back, didn't the Pelicans look like a playoff team last night with Brandon Ingram leading the way? If Zion Williamson played for Detroit and last night's roster was just what you have, and Zion's spot on the roster was taken by a G League player. Don't the Pelicans look like a playoff team? Yes, they do. Let me answer the question. So if you add Zion, even for the last 25 games of the season and in the playoffs, the most important 25 games of the season plus you're hoping to play another, 20-plus playoff games if things work out, win a championship with that guy. But if you're looking for him to be AC Green and play 1,100 straight games, not going to happen. We'll take a break. Come back. Scott Rabelais is with us. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge. The Sell Your Car program from Infinity right now, they want to buy your vehicles from customers right off the street. It's easy to get an offer from Infinity of Baton Rouge. Whether you're looking to sell it to them, trade it in on another vehicle, or even if you're looking to find out what the value is, it takes less than 15 minutes to get a quote. There is no pressure to buy. The benefits of a certified pre-owned vehicle at Infinity are numerous. First of all, it's gone through a huge quality point inspection to make sure it is back up to code. And if it gets through that, you're going to get a 6-year unlimited mile warranty with 1 full year of prepaid maintenance. Plus, roadside assistance is included, courtesy vehicle when you do bring your vehicle in for maintenance. So you're doing your shopping for a vehicle. Transparency in pricing and a family atmosphere make it Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls Bands and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting. With a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne. Plus two-time PBR world champion Christian
Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day edition of AFR. Presented by Pluckers. Derek Carr visiting the Saints. Does it make sense? We're talking about it on Wednesday's AFR. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time. with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I think the world's finding out about the NBA world's found out about Cam Thomas.
A little bit.
Another 43 last night. 40 points in 3 consecutive games has never been done by someone as young as Cam Thomas. No Kevin Durant, no Kyrie Irving. Say, hey, take the ball, young man. Now, they've lost 2 out of those 3 games, but it ain't because he's not scoring. And, you know, the other thing about him is he has, for the most part, during this streak, he has shot the ball pretty well. Not quite as good last night from the floor as the 2 previous games, and not as well from 3, I should say, last night as the first 2 games. But he got to the free throw line 20 times, made 18 of them. So the young man can put the ball in the hoop. We'll see how that progresses when Durant gets back, which may or may not be before the All-Star break next week. Let's bring in Scott Rabelais from the Advocate. Rab, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm limping around, Charlie. I'm not probable for the LSU South Carolina game, though I will be covering it. But I know the LSU men's basketball team needs some help, but they don't want me playing now. I can't put the ball through the hoop.
What? No, I knew that before I asked you for sure. You going to Columbia?
I am.
Okay.
Yes. You're gonna cover the game.
You covered LSU women's. You were the beat writer for LSU women's basketball for a number of years. So big games are nothing new. But this is, dare I say, the biggest regular season game that they have played. I don't know about ever, but certainly in the last 15 years for sure. But maybe ever?
I got the number for you. It is the biggest. It is the highest ranked matchup LSU's ever been in the NCAA era. The last time they were in a game like this, they were number 1 and Tennessee was number 3. It was February of 1978.
Wow.
Which, of course, that was the AIAW days. The NCAA era, we say, starts in 1982. So biggest in the NCAA era. So this is big. This is really big for the regular season.
Funny you should mention the word big, because that's the first word that came to my mind when I watched South Carolina play UConn on Sunday. LSU's at a size disadvantage in this game. There's no question about it. They're at a depth disadvantage in this game. South Carolina goes about 11 deep with players that will play more than 10 minutes, and they have the home court advantage, and they've got a little bit more experience than LSU. The Tigers, despite being undefeated, are decided underdogs in this game.
They are, and there's no way to not say that. And I think the first person who would tell you that is Kim Mulkey herself. All those things you're saying about South Carolina are correct. They've got starting with Aaliyah Boston, the returning National Player of the Year. They've just got talent. Just lots of national recruits. So and LSU they're ahead of schedule. I mean, no one could have predicted that they would be in this position to be undefeated going to the South Carolina game. I remember looking at the schedule before the season once they got all these players in place and thinking, okay, reasonably speaking, I think they'll probably drop one in the non-conference schedule, maybe like Oregon State when they play in that tournament in Hawaii, and maybe they'll in the regular season in SEC play, they probably could go lose 3 games. Something like that. But, no one could have predicted this. So if you come out of this and you lose Saturday, and they got, as you like to say, Charlie, a puncher's chance. I think WarrenNolan.com gives them about a 15% chance to win. So 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 8 or 9 shots, they get hot, they can play. But Zaya Cook, she's their leading scorer, really, because Boston doesn't play a lot. Cardozo is the center you're talking about.
She's 6'7".
Yeah. Yeah. So and as you said, Angel Reese is a willowy, 6'3". LaDasia Williams is actually their tallest starter at 6'4". And she's kind of an unsung hero on this team. She does a lot of the dirty work that coaches love. They're diving on the floor for balls and blocking shots and taking charges and that sort of thing. But they're definitely at a disadvantage. They get to win, to have a shot to win. They really need the perimeter shooting to be hot. Alexis Morris has to give him a big game, and so does Jasmine Carson, who scored 10 points the last 3 games combined. She's got to be hitting some threes.
I give them a little bit better chance, having watched them, than 15%. My guess is that they will be because they are putting out lines on certain women's basketball games now, and this will be one. My guess is that they will be somewhere around an 8 to 9 point underdog. That's just a guess, maybe a little bit more than that. And it sounds strange for two undefeated teams for the line to be that much, but the game's at South Carolina, and there's no two ways around it. South Carolina has played a much tougher schedule. They have won twice as many Q1 games as LSU has won. And, one of the things that's actually a little bit surprising is that the Southeastern Conference for women's basketball is not as deep as it normally is. 3 of LSU's non-conference conference wins are Q3 wins, and that's not normal. And I know you know that because you covered the league as many years.
Yeah, it's not. And you don't have anyone in the SEC ranked in the AP top 25 aside from LSU and South Carolina. It's also very unusual. Texas A&M has been down recently. Georgia's not what they used to be. Vanderbilt was a very good program one time. Missouri at times can be that. Kentucky has been a top 10 team in fairly recent times. We're ranked around that 9, 10 kind of thing. So yeah, that's unusual. Kim purposely scheduled light in the non-conference schedule. She says because she didn't know she was going to have Angel Reese. They had the number 1 transfer class. Kind of sounds familiar, doesn't it, with football? So, they had the best group of transfers come in this past year, and obviously it's made all the difference. No one knew that they could replace every starter but Morris with a team like this, and she's the only contributing player off of last year's team that has returned. So it's a schedule that's not done them any favors, and it's a schedule that is. But their net is still 3, but you see the Charlie Creams of the world, and I've talked to Charlie Cream. He's their Joe Lunardi for women's basketball at ESPN, and he very solidly has them as a 2 seed. Now they'd probably have to win Sunday or win the SEC tournament to be a number 1 seed. Is what I'm thinking. We're going to see though Thursday night the NCAA Women's Selection Committee is going to do the top 16 seed reveal, and we're going to see where they are. And I think most people will expect them. They're going to be 5, 6. He says they're the 7, which I think that's a little harsh. That given what they've done, they were the 7. But conversely, if they were to lose to South Carolina, I don't think it would hurt their chances very much. But they'd have to go out and win something at some point. I think cut down some nets, regular season or tournament to get to the top seed line.
It's time for them to play this game, or a game like this. The Tennessee game was close, but Tennessee has, despite the schedule that they have played, has taken their lumps. It's time for LSU to play a game against one of the top teams in the country and see where they are. And if they lose, they lose. That's not even a terrible. Well, let's say it's not a terrible thing. You never want to lose, but it may be necessary in the growth process of team at some point, and get them in there with the heavyweight champ right now, and let's see where they are. Let's see how long they can spar with this group. Maybe they are good enough to go straight up with South Carolina on the road and win at this point. We're about to find out. Going to be a great game to watch. All right, where are you on? The Saints are entertaining Derek Carr today. I'm sure that there's a nice dinner at Commanders or some such place in the offing tonight. Scott, we've been covering football for a long time. Did you ever think it would be a spot where we would be talking about the college players getting money and the pro players going on recruiting trips? It's kind of backwards, right? But that's what it is.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah,
exactly. It's a recruiting trip, right? Is this an official visit or an unofficial visit? Would you say with Derek Carr?
I don't know. I don't know who paid for his airfare. To be honest with you, if the Saints pay for his airfare, is it a violation of salary cap rules? Who can say? But what do you think about Derek Carr possibly being the next quarterback of the Saints?
I understand why he's someone they're interested in. Obviously, as we know, the last year Dennis Allen was with the Raiders. He started him as a rookie quarterback, and he got fired 4 games into the season, and Derek's been the whole time with the Raiders. So there's familiarity there, and familiarity counts for a lot in sports, obviously, for good or bad. And I think that's part of what we're seeing here. Obviously, he's a veteran who hasn't blown anybody's socks off, but he's got about a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. He's thrown for 35,000 yards in his career. Never had a 5,000-yard season, but he's had some other good seasons. And he's a veteran. I mean, he knows the league. He knows how to play. He's obviously savvy at this point. been sacked a lot, of course, but that's not surprising. I understand why they're going. They might go this route, and if they did, you wouldn't totally criticize it. But does this in your mind? Let me ask you a question. If they sign him, does this in your mind mean that they're not going to go after Hendon Hooker or try to get trade up, or with their late first round pick try to get a quarterback?
I would, if they signed Derek Carr, I would be surprised if they used a first or second day pick on a quarterback. Yes,
right.
I would.
Yeah, okay.
Because he's 32 years old. This is not a 1 year fix. If they sign Derek Carr, it's going to be to a 4 or 5 year deal. And it'll probably have some voidable years at the end of that. But, no, they're committing to him for multiple years at that point. No, I don't think, especially Hendon Hooker, who is 25 years old. If you sign a 32-year-old quarterback to a $150 million contract, I don't think you draft a 25-year-old rookie. And that's you're talking to somebody who's a tremendous Hendon Hooker fan. If they don't sign Derek Carr and they keep Andy Dalton, you'll see me – waving the flag for Hendon Hooker to be drafted by the Saints. But if you sign Derek Carr, then no, I wouldn't say.
I am more of the mind that the Saints are in a position where, it seems like they keep trying to add the one piece that's going to make them the division winner again, or, get them back in the playoffs or something like that. And I see an aging salary cap strapped team that just needs to start over again. And I think it'd be better to start over with the younger quarterback, a good value, a potentially excellent player. As we know, it's a crapshoot. With quarterbacks, a lot of them don't pan out, which you draft in the first round, but you got to try. I would rather see them go that route, but I'm thinking they're going to go, because of the familiarity with Dennis Allen. I'm sorry, Charlie. The whole Dennis Allen thing just still, and seeing Sean Payton talking about, and it's a story in our paper, he's poaching coaches from the Saints staff and everything. You could have had him back. It's not a sentimental business. You say, Dennis, I would have said, Dennis, thanks for your help, but we can get Sean back, and we're going to give him a piece of the team, and we're going to keep him for life, and we're going to move on from there. The whole thing just doesn't sit well with me at all.
Oh, that would have been my preference too, but that ship has sailed, and I saw Peyton is open-minded to coming back to the Saints, but I never got the feeling that he was clamoring to come back to New Orleans. It would have kind of been like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. But there was, whether it be to go and plant his flag somewhere else where he can be the first coach to win a Super Bowl with two different teams, or a new challenge of, he can be the guy that saved Russell Wilson, or whatever it was. It just seemed like to me the motivation for Sean Payton was to do this somewhere else. And the New Orleans thing had run its course. And I give you an example of, they say you can't go home again. That's not always true, but I was thinking about Joe Gibbs. And Joe Gibbs was as good a coach as there ever was in the NFL during his first run with Washington. And Daniel Snyder had screwed things up so bad that he had to go back hat in hand and basically beg Joe Gibbs to please come back so I can hire somebody with some credibility. And he got back, and he wasn't Joe Gibbs anymore. It had run its course in Washington. The guy won 3 Super Bowls.
I can see that. Yeah.
Did it with 3 different quarterbacks and was great. Hall of Fame, no question. We went back again the second time. It wasn't the same. And that, in the back of my mind, I kept thinking about Joe Gibbs when people said, well, Sean Payton can go back. If it's the Sean Payton of 2006 and he finds the next Drew Brees, yeah, it could happen. But more likely, I saw it probably going the way. And Gibbs wasn't terrible when he went back the second time, but he wasn't Joe Gibbs anymore. And that's kind of the way I saw it with him. Scott, we always appreciate your time. Have a safe trip to Columbia. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Charlie.
Scott Rabelais from The Advocate. We'll take a time out, come back here. First class, second class, no class is next. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. Bulls, Bands, and Barrels at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. With bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting. With a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman with Timothy Wayne. February 25th, Lamar Dixon Expo Center, 7 p.m.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio.
Join me, Jimmy, on for the Wednesday edition of Game Time. We're live at Modesto Restaurant on Burbank. It's game time, 6 to 8 p.m. Wednesday from Modesto on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannigreth on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Hanny Time. First class.
I want a seat in first class where I was booked and ticketed over a month ago.
Second class.
That no man should be subjected to the indignity of being labeled or treated like a second-class citizen.
And no class.
My life had become like school on Sunday. No class.
I'll tell you what then. Why don't you call me sometime when you have no class?
First class, second class, no class. Brought to you by Supreme Rice. Buy local with Louisiana-based Supreme Rice since 1936.
And we start out this week first class. Okay, I told you this on Monday. I'm not or maybe that was yesterday. We did the show. We were talking about Flau'jae Johnson on America's Got Talent. Not a reality or the talent show. The Dancing with the Stars, America's Got Talent, American Idol. my viewing on these very, very limited. But I do know that the competition is pretty fierce, and you got to have some game to get on these platforms in advance. So, Elijah Johnson, freshman with the LSU basketball team, went on America's Got Talent when she was 14 years old. She went back on something that was taped, I believe, in the summer months and aired on Monday night. This is what the judges said. Well, this is the very end of her performance and what the judges said about her on Monday.
Oh, no, no, oh, look, and it's too late to save us. We gotta save these kids. It's too late to save us. We gotta save these kids. Whoa.
To be reckoned with. You're incredibly talented. You are a poet. You are a songstress. You are an entertainer. And as far as AGT All-Stars go, you, at this moment, are my MVP.
Well, I feel like you are talented and wise beyond your years. I think it's amazing what you do, how you do it, and it's always special to watch.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Last floor, Jay. I felt very emotional during that. You know, you were 14 when you first came on this show, and you came back so much better than you were before now. I mean, there's no question about it. You're already a star, and now you're an all-star, and now you're going to be a bigger star, and I feel very proud. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Now, of the little I know about these things, one of the things I know is that Simon, if you suck, he'll tell you you suck, and he won't be nice about it. So he don't throw around compliments very lightly. If he says you're good, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to be good and you got a real future in it, and he doesn't throw compliments like that around very lightly. I think when you can do two things really, really at a really, really high level. I mean, you know, a very high level. Johnson is averaging 13 points and 6.5 rebounds on an undefeated team as a freshman. Okay. She's playing for Kim Mulkey, who I think we all would agree is pretty demanding on her team. So she's doing that. And then she's doing this on the side, and she's advanced to this level of this competition. We hear, I know what the time demands are on these kids. Okay. To play at LSU, you know, regardless of what you think about, they get NIL and they get scholarship money. They do, okay? It's a grind. You got to put an enormous amount of time in to be really good at this. And to do that and to keep up your academic standing, which I understand she is, and to do this on the side at this high level, that's strong, man. I'm sorry. And congratulations to her. I hope she does well in the remainder of the competition. The second class, now the Derek Carr thing is obvious, right? That's good. He would be better than Andy Dalton, in my opinion. Would he be great? I don't know. I got to see what the price is. I got to see what all of this looks like. But it would give the Saints some clarity on the quarterback position. They would have a bona fide starting quarterback in the NFL, and then they would be able to take their draft and free agency and address the other parts of the team. Would it be great? I don't know. I don't know if you can win a Super Bowl with Derek Carr. I don't know if you can get to an AFC Championship game with Derek Carr. Maybe, but it's going to take the right coach. It's going to take the right pieces around him. The real second class I wanted to talk about was Aaron Rodgers. I can't do this when I'm on with Jimmy on his show because he's kind of gone to a dark place with Aaron Rodgers, mostly because he's on with Pat McAfee, which is interesting because Aaron Rodgers is going to the darkness. He's going for a little self-reflection in some isolation. Aaron Rodgers, if you missed this, says he's going to take 4 days. He's going to go to a retreat. He's going to put himself in a dark room with no windows, only have food delivered, so he's going to have no contact with the outside world, turn the phone off, and just meditate, deal with his thoughts. It simulates the the drug with the hallucinations that I can't pronounce that he went to South America with last year.
Ayahuasca, something like that.
Sure, well, if you say so. Okay, so it's supposed to simulate that. He says, just going to sit there in silence in the dark. He says, which most of us never do. No, Aaron, the rest of us have jobs. We got to go to work every day. We can't go 4 days and go sit in a dark room somewhere. But if there was ever any doubt that this guy's just a little bit cut from a different cloth, he's going to go sit for 4 days and decide if he wants to play football anymore. Some people I just can't relate to. I respect Aaron Rodgers' talent, and I enjoy watching him play football because he's really good at it. But when you tell me, not just I'm going to step away, I'm going to take some time to myself, I'm going to make a decision. That's fine. A lot of players do that every year. Go wherever you want. I mean, you can go sit in a dark room. You can go to some foreign country where they could give a flip about the Green Bay Packers. I mean, probably in South America, they didn't know whether the Green Bay Packers were a rock band or a football team. But the way he put it is like, I'm going to go sit in a dark room, turn off the phone, close the windows, just sit in silence for 4 days to decide if I want to go make $50 million. Okay, I may have made up the last part of that. So good with a chance to be great. This is mostly coming from the Jets. Aaron Rodgers. My no class goes to a large, unfortunately, a rapidly growing group of people. Lance Guidry was the defensive coordinator at Marshall last year. He was hired by Willie Fritz in the offseason to be the new defensive coordinator at Tulane. That was some 2 weeks ago. Then Lance Guidry got a job offer with Miami, so he decided to go to Miami. He was with Tulane for less than 2 weeks. I'm all for coaches being able to better themselves. I'm all for coaches being able to move. I understand what the life is like. It's not the easiest thing. I've told this story before, but I was friends with all of Steve Ensminger's kids. Two of them worked here, and I asked one of them, "Hey, how many places did you live before you graduated from high school?" And she had to start counting in her head, like. So when you imagine, the number of moves for your family, you got to, find another place to live. You got to buy and sell houses. You got to rent places. You got to change schools. There's a lot of things. But I think it's not out of the realm of expectation that in the offseason, whether you are taking a job promotion, you're taking a raise, you're taking a demotion, you are whatever career move you're making, either by your own choice or forced, once you make a commitment in that offseason to another team, another coach who goes through the same thing you have, extends you an offer, says, I want you to be on my staff. I want you to influence my team. I want you to influence the rest of my coaches, because if you don't do your job, guess what? We all might have to pack up and leave ourselves in the offseason. You give kids your word. You put him out on the road recruiting. You give him a green shirt, and you say, go out and spread the word of Tulane and try and recruit us some players. And the guy says, yes, I accept all of that. And 2 weeks later, just, nah, man, I'm out. I got a better offer. I'm sorry, it rubs me the wrong way. And he's not the only one. He's just the most recent one to do it. I think you owe that coach a year. I really do. And I understand if you want to wait, maybe there's a better offer out there. You want to, you want to play liar's poker with that and say, I can get a better offer. Well, maybe you can, maybe you can't. Here's the offer. But if you sign this piece of paper and you come in here and we introduce you as a member of our staff, you got to give us a year. You got to give us a year. And I know that there's other examples of kids commit and decommit. I'm not wild about that either. But I think once you get there, and once you've made a public commitment, a public statement, you owe them a year. Getting into a place for 2 weeks and then saying, nah, I'm out. Somebody else, offered me something better. This rubs me the wrong way. My opinion is no class. We'll take a break, come back and wrap things up. We'll take some of your questions in the Bayou Ford chat. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny time.
Supreme Rice and SupremeRice.com. We're in the carnival season. We love carnival parties. We love putting some food on the parade route. If you can get into somebody's yard, get a big pot of jambalaya, a big pot of red beans. Everybody's eating, drinking, having a good time. Do it with Supreme Rice. You'll be supporting our Louisiana farmers. They've been down in Crowley and the surrounding southwestern Louisiana areas since 1936. All of our Supreme Rice is grown, milled, and processed down in southwest Louisiana. You're going to get a great price. You're going to stretch your food dollar. So whether it's the brown, the long grain, the medium grain, or the jasmine, make Supreme Rice a part of your next meal or get together. Easy to get. All your AG food stores, all of your Rouses, all of your Walmarts, including your Walmart neighborhood stores, and it's available in our New Orleans market as well. For more information and some unique recipes, go to the website at supremerice.com.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP on select new 2022 Ford F-150 trucks. $10,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls, Bands, and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting. With a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne. Plus two-time PBR World Champion Chris Shivers. And Brinson James, the Entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th. Lamar Dixon Expo Center at 7 p.m. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. The #1 Chevrolet dealer in Louisiana.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money. And
on Thursdays, Off the Bench. New car? Who dat? Big news break from Derek Carr's visit to New Orleans. Plus, the latest from Arizona as the Super Bowl prep runs right along. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The Bayou Ford Chad Murdraff says somebody wants to give you more money for the exact same job. Do you not take it? I get it. I'm not disputing that. It rubs me the wrong way when a guy comes in, takes a job for 2 weeks, and then leaves. And yes, Miami is a better job than Tulane. I'm not disputing that either. If he had wanted to go to Miami from Marshall, that's fine. I just think that once you make a commitment, you should make a commitment for a year. Nugget says, even though Odin is not a direct comp to Zion Williamson, is he one of the sadder stories you can remember? Yes, and I would include Sam Bowie in that. Very, very similar, although Bowie lasted a lot longer than Odin did. He could just never stay healthy. And, it's one of those things through no fault of his own. He was the guy that was drafted in front of Michael Jordan, and he had to wear that his entire career. And who could possibly live up to that? I mean, Bowie didn't draft himself. Portland drafted him. Just like Ron Paulus when he was at Notre Dame, and Beano Cook said he was going to win 2 Heismans, and Paulus had to wear that the rest of his career. And it's like, man, I didn't say I was going to win 2 Heismans. Beano did, but he was forced to wear that. Steven says, ask the huddle, how many years in New Orleans does Zion play more than 50 games? That's a great question. Will Zion Williamson play more than more seasons of over 50 games?
I say yes. He already did it 2 years ago in the Stan Van Gundy year, and they're going for longevity right now. I know it's frustrating, but the whole purpose of holding him out these long stretches of time is so that later on in his career he could play a little bit more.
Rob Boudreaux says, Hanny should be program director. Been there, done that, bought the T-shirt at multiple stops. I'm fine where I am, thank you. Ask, does Tracy have a favorite reality show? No, she watched the beginning of American Idol. But it pretty much wore thin for her too. So it's basketball that's on most of the nights for me, and she watches whatever it is she watches. So no, not very often. Thanks to everybody for participating. For Mario and Taylor, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you. Good afternoon. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny time.
Big Mike's in Denham Springs with hot ball crawfish every day starting at 11 a.m. We went out to do the show on Monday night, had some ball crawfish. If ball shrimp are your thing, Monday night's all you can eat ball shrimp. Live music at Big Mike's this Thursday. They're having Swamp Pop class. Chris Allen will be there. On Friday, it's Kyle Wilson. And on Saturday, DJ Alex Harbert. Happy hour drink prices from 3 until 7, Monday through Friday, but also on Sunday starting at 11 a.m. So you want to go watch Super Bowl over at Big Mike's happy hour drink prices there. Banquet rooms available for your private parties, daily lunch specials, the Denham Springs Hall of Fame. Big Mike's on Aspen in Denham Springs. We're kind of a big deal.
There it is, the extra mile on the